And welcome into the Bruins beat on CLNS Media. My name is Evan Marinofsky, and today I am joined by Conor Ryan. Conor, what is up?
Evan, I'm doing well. How you doing?
Doing great. I know this is the first question you're wondering. You're like, Evan, how are you here right now? How are you alive? How are you bringing your takes and your Bruins opinions to the people after the Mac Attack burger I had on Sunday? I know you're like, how are you not in the hospital with a big bad tummy ache? And I am here to report to you that I am okay. I lived to tell the tale. It was a tumultuous journey.
Was it worth it?
It was. It was. That
Got
burger.
a lot of criticism.
It did. I was surprised. I don't know. To me, like, I didn't find it crazy that mac and cheese was on a burger. I haven't seen it before, but I was like, when you think about it, like, yeah, it's pasta, so that's a little bit different, a little unconventional, but it's still cheese. It just replaces the cheese on a cheeseburger. I don't know.
And it compresses too. It doesn't make like a gigantic mess. So it's like, what I think is a very overrated thing is like sunny side up egg on a burger. Too much of a mess. I just don't like. In principle, it sounds okay, and I think everyone's had it at least once. I'm like, oh, I'll give it a try. Then you have it, and the yolk explodes. It like hits the person like across from you. Like it just makes a big mess. It's not worth it. I can see the argument for the mac and cheese on the burger.
Yeah, so I have a friend who has been raving about Boston Burger Company for a long time. And he was like, we got to go some weekend, because he sent me a post of theirs on Instagram, because they do all these crazy kind of burgers. I don't know if you remember, they are like a brother company with Mortadella Head, which is in Somerville.
Yes.
And they have the famous chopped Caesar salad sub, which is actually really good. I've had that. But that went viral on TikTok, like mega viral. Mm-hmm. So this is like their brother company, and they're saying they have crazy burgers, and I was like, I do want to try it. And I saw Guy Fieri reviewed on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives a few years ago the Mac Attack burger. So I was like, I gotta get that. You gotta give, man. You gotta give. So I did, and it was great. It was awesome. I mean, it was a lot. It was a lot of food. It's heavy. But the mac and cheese was delicious. Like, to me, I love mac and cheese. You can put mac and cheese on anything. I would eat it, because I just love mac and cheese. So it was good. I actually went to Warrior Ice Arena like an hour later, so I was good. I was surprised.
Through it, yeah.
I was, but I was good. My friend though, I was telling Bruins Network this because I DM'd him, because he was the first person to be like, "What are you doing, dude?" And I DM'd him, and I was like, "Well, my stomach isn't feeling the greatest right now," but one of my friends got the 420 burger, which is mozzarella sticks, onion rings, fries, mac and cheese.
That's just, you got to stop. Yeah,
that's where you lose me.
You're asking for trouble. Yeah,
it's where you lose me. You lose me when you get to that part. Like, that's not enjoyable. Like, a mac and cheese on a burger with bacon is good. Like, that's still tasty, and you can still function after. You eat all that with like golden barbecue sauce on it, and there's still things I'm forgetting. You're dead. You're done for the day. And that's not even like an enjoyable thing. So, yeah, I'm good. Tummy's fine. Tummy's all good. I gotta get myself going for Thanksgiving this week, which should be an exciting time.
You're prepping yourself for it. It's actually a forward-thinking move there.
Exactly. I'm getting my stomach up and all that stuff. Anyways, unfortunate story to start this episode. We're only doing one Bruins beat this week, just because Thanksgiving's the end of the week, and we'll have more to talk about next week. And of course, we'll have Poke the Bear throughout the week, and we'll have Pucks with Haggs later in the week as well. Unfortunate story broke Saturday morning. We all kind of saw the rumblings on Twitter, and we all said, please don't be true. Hopefully this is a rumor. And it unfortunately seems to be true. Milan Lucic was charged with assault and battery on a family member or a household member early Saturday morning. He's supposed to be arraigned tomorrow, as in Tuesday. So this is coming out Tuesday. So again, we're recording this on Monday. And then, so the Boston Globe actually just published the police report, and I'll read it just so we have that as baseline of facts. Boston Bruins winger Milan Lucic was arrested by Boston police after he allegedly pulled his wife by her hair and tried to choke her during an argument inside the couple's North End home, and it was sparked when Lucic could not locate his cell phone, according to a Boston police report obtained by the Globe. Lucic is scheduled to be arraigned Tuesday in Boston Municipal Court on a single count of assault and battery on a family member stemming from his arrest shortly after 1 a.m. Saturday at the Battery Street condo, according to court records. It was not known if he's hired an attorney yet. According to the police report, officers responded to a 911 call to the address and met Lucic's wife in the lobby. Quote, operations relayed to the responding officers that the reporting party/victim called and stated that her husband attempted to choke her, the police wrote. The police continued to write, the victim stated that her husband could not locate his cell phone after returning to their apartment after a night out. She stated that the suspect began yelling at her, demanding his phone back, believing she had hidden the phone. She stated that she did not have the phone or know where it was. End quote. At that point, the verbal argument allegedly escalated, the police wrote. She stated that she attempted to walk away from her husband and stated that her husband grabbed her by the hair and pulled her backwards, stated that in doing so, the suspect stated to her that she was not going anywhere. Police wrote that an officer, quote, observed redness on the victim's chest area and asked the victim if the suspect attempted to strangle her during the incident. She stated he did not, police wrote. They continued to write, she also stated that the suspect was consuming alcohol. She denied medical attention and was provided with information about her right to a restraining order. Police wrote they checked to see if Lucic had any prior criminal charges or outstanding restraining orders, and he did not find any. The officers interviewed Lucic in the couple's apartment, police wrote in the report. He appeared intoxicated when he answered the door, police wrote. He stated to officers nothing happened and did not provide an explanation. He was cooperative when police told him he would be arrested on a domestic violence charge. He was escorted to a bedroom to get clothing, and the bedroom officers described a broken lamp on a nightstand and shards of what appeared to be glass on the floor. However, the suspect, Lucic in this case, stated that there were broken shards of plastic on the floor. He was taken into custody and booked at the Area A1 station without incident. And then they go on to 2011 and that whole thing, which has been talked about quite a bit. He should be gone. I mean, I think that's pretty widely agreed upon. And it's, we want to send our best to Lucic's kids, his wife. Horrible situation. And again, I think, easy. He's gone. What do you think?
Yeah. As you said, I think first and foremost, you hope that Brittany and Lucic's kids are okay off of a awful situation here. You just hope for their well-being and that they're doing okay. So that should be first and foremost beyond anything on the ice or however you want to address that. But I mean, massively disappointing. This whole situation, the way it's played out. We'll see what happens off of this arraignment of the more as more information comes out with it. But as you said, I mean, absolutely no excuse for it. An awful situation, and as you said. I can't see any place for him on this team, off of just a situation like that. I mean, it's based on the details from the police report, just disgusting incident that has absolutely no place for anything related to the Boston Bruins organization. And Sully's kind of everything that he's done here, based on what those charges are and what it's stated in the police report. So. Again, I'm sure there'll be even more information that will be coming out throughout this week. So we'll have that updated with more and more of these podcasts after he's been arraigned and more information comes out from lawyers, police reports, all that stuff. But just within the moment right now of what we know so far, there's not much more you can say rather than just a really awful, disgusting incident that you just hope more than anything that the Lucic family is okay. And from the Bruins perspective, I can't see any reason to keep him around in wake of this. I mean, it's just awful, right?
You nailed it. I mean, it's disgusting. Disgusting, and there's no place for it. No excuse for it. Nothing. I mean, there's, again, going off what we have so far, which is now the police report, which, the Globe published about an hour before we started recording on Monday. I mean, it's inexcusable, and it's disgusting. And, it just... There's not much more you can say. There isn't. I mean, this is what we have, and it's horrible. And I'm like I said it a couple minutes ago. Like, there's no reason he should be back. None. And I know some will point to, there's people with domestic allegations against them in other sports. Does not make it right. It does not make it right. And I think I would hope the Bruins would take prompt action. My guess is they're waiting for the facts to come out, as they should. So it's a horrible, horrible situation. And again, it's, a lot of people are like, oh, Lucic was such a great player. I loved him. This, as you said, just tarnishes all of that. So that stuff goes straight out the window when something as gross and as terrible as this pops up. And, I'm not going to get into a discussion of like, what does Lucic need to do to rehabilitate himself? That's not what we're here for.
Yeah, we're not or the lineups or whatever like that. Like,
no, I don't care. We're not getting into that now. We're not discussing who's going to be the fourth line left winger now. That's not where we're going. We're not doing the, he has this issue, that issue. There's no excuse for this. Goodbye. And that's that. Anyways, the Bruins did play a game Saturday night. Which was interesting because, Montgomery mentioned it on Saturday morning saying, this is tough. As Steve Conroy asked, how is this affecting the guys in the room? Because it was an hour or so fresh in their minds and in their, seeing it or hearing about it. And, Montgomery even said, this is not a typical day, but these guys are professionals. They got to, gear up for a game tonight. And they did gear up for it. Big win over the Canadians. One of their most dominant of the year, I thought, from start to finish. Just really, really good effort. And again, I think it stems back to Montgomery bag skating them after the Montreal game a couple days before. But I think that game to me highlighted some of the real, not unsung heroes of this team so far, but guys that fly a little under the radar. We'll start with Trent Frederic, who really is finding his place. You said it all off season. Do not move him from Charlie Coyle. Do not move him from Charlie Coyle. Do not move him from Charlie Coyle. And ever since him and Charlie Coyle have been together, and Van Riemsdyk, it's been one hell of a line.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that is encouraging to see when you're looking at guys that can contribute and help drive play. Like, is that third line like a group of guys that each by themselves can drive play or control a game or what have you? No, but when they play off each other and they kind of complement each other's skill sets out there, a guy like Frederic, when he's taking a shot first mentality, when he's contributing, holding on to pucks, extending those on time, he can really be a useful asset out there. And we talked all off season, right? Like, was last year a fluke? Was it a breakout season? He's going to build off of it. So far, it seems like it's more of the latter, right? Where rather than him being this guy that could be a 20-point guy with some added physicality, maybe he is a guy that could give you 20-ish goals year in and year out, especially if he's utilized in that spot, because I think the most underrated part of his game, we know, the physicality he can play with, all that stuff. Got a great shot when he gets to use that.
Hopefully they mic his dad up on this the father's trip. They gotta mic him up.
That seems like a foregone conclusion, right? It's probably going to be quite an entertaining behind the B in terms of the dad's trip. So there'll be quite a few mics going on for those games down in Florida. But Frederic's got a really underrated shot, and whether it's like you see when he comes out of the box, has that goal, but like when he's kind of that F3 as well, and guys like Coyle and JVR are holding on to the pucks down low, he's getting those opportunities to fire off those pucks. You do a lot of damage, right? Like, is he a 30-goal scorer? I don't think so, but like he can, with that shot and with how he plays on that line, he can do a lot of damage. And again, we've talked about it as the Bruins are trying to settle things of what lines best complement one another. That whatever you want to call that Coyle line, the second line, the third line, I feel like they're all kind of interchangeable right now, except maybe the soccer line I think is number one. We know that based on the personnel there,
yes.
But just how that grouping is playing, they're making things happen night in, night out, down both ends of the ice. Like, even defensively, they've been as good as they were last year as well.
There's got to be a name for the JVR Coyle Frederic line. Has anyone come up with something yet for them? We gotta start. We gotta start workshopping.
We got Geek Squad. We got the Potheads, which I think I want to say we were helping lead the charge there, but that one is for the masses. But
I thought we were first on it, and I think we still are. But like DJ Bean was on in the last week, and he said like, "Oh, everyone's we're Potheads and all this." I'm like, did you start that or did we? I want to say we started that. Like
we will tip the caps to DJ and Pete as well. So I would not be surprised they also brewed up that stuff as well. So
they probably had that in the bag, when the Bruins drafted Patra.
Yes.
But yeah, I agree with you, and I want to touch on this because this again, there's a lot of reasons the Bruins are having success. Number one is goaltending. That's obvious. But this depth scoring, these value players are really kicking in. But first, you want to talk value? Check out our sponsor, Connor, because they're all about value.
Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action, NFL. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including you got spreads, you got your player props, you got over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
So, the middle of the lineup, it's so interesting because, Van Riemsdyk right now, 5 goals, 7 assists, 12 points in 16 games. You will take that any day out of a guy making $1 million for 1 year. And it's not like the Bergeron $1.5 million. It's a legit just $1 million. And again, like Frederic has 5 goals right now, 7 points. He's been quiet at times offensively producing, but like, in terms of, you mentioned it, right? Like, he's pretty good at finding soft spots in the slot, and he's good at getting open. And I think when Van Riemsdyk is a very, very, very good passer. Some of his passing is it's just high IQ stuff. And again, he's an NHL vet. DJ brought up a good point, saying that Van Riemsdyk is sort of like the best of the not best players. Like, a guy who's always really good, but you don't put him up with, like the elite players and things like that, but just a guy that is so reliable. And he's been that this year. And again, you look at that line and what it could do, not just now, but like in the postseason. I mean, that's a big line, puck possession, good at finding open guys, even with, defensemen in the way, and just getting crafty, at getting their line mates the puck. So to me, again, like, that line has been dynamite, has been really, really solid. Staying with the forwards for one more minute, Zacha. I've been more and more impressed by him and his vision and just his ability to find open teammates, to work. Obviously, Pastrnak, you or me could throw Pastrnak the puck and would have, 30 assists. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's a stretch. Maybe my head's getting a little too big. But I think we could do it. And what's interesting, actually, little tangent here. You know how people always say, like, when guys are sitting around watching sports, they just sit, and just talk about sports as
players.
Well. Yeah, they players. Well, that too.
We were just hanging out. One guy goes like Richard Mendenhall and just starts
Marshawn Lattimore.
Yes.
What's funny is the other night, my buddies and I were sitting around. We were watching the Bruins on Saturday night, and we were discussing like best cornerbacks of the 2010s, and like Darrell Revis with the Jets was unstoppable. It was like, no, Josh Norman with the Panthers, and all this stuff. But one discussion one of my roommates and I always have is like, could you do something? Like, could you throw a touchdown pass in the NFL? Could you, hit a 95 mile per hour fastball, things like that. Touchdown pass, part of a toxic trait is thinking like, oh, if I just threw a screen or something. But even then, getting the ball out quick and having like zipping it over, that might be a little tough. And also just getting crushed. So I don't know. Touchdown pass, I don't think I could do.
Breaking news, Evan Marinofsky thinks he can replace Mac Jones as Patriots quarterback.
Exactly. Get me in there. Honestly,
respectfully, it might be the same result for a little bit cheaper. So,
yeah, I would play for a little bit cheaper than Mac, and I would just take sacks or throw the ball onto the ground or just hand it off.
And you can do a sponsorship with the Boston Burger Company with the mac and cheeseburger. There you go.
Exactly. Easy. That's I'll put it on my jersey.
The real Mac attack.
Exactly. That's what it's me. It's me as Patriots quarterback. But one interesting thing, and because it goes back to us talking about if we were playing with Pastrnak, is could you score a goal on an NHL goalie? And I think that's so I'll say this: if you went in on a breakaway, because puck bounces are weird, or if you like things like that, fluky could go in. Like, I think there's a better chance of that happening than me throwing a touchdown pass. I think so. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be totally wrong. I don't think I'm getting any goals past freaking Swayman or Olmark right now. I mean, geez. But it's always an interesting conversation of like, could you do this in a professional setting? The answer 99.9% of the time is no.
I would suck.
I would too. No, I would suck too. Anyways, where were we? Oh, Zacha. He's great. I think he's proving more and more. You wrote about this the other day. He's proving more and more that he's not just a stopgap at center, that he actually really does belong. And I think throughout this season, you've seen it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's funny that I think we all knew going into the year, like the goaltending was going to be very good. Maybe not as elite as is right now, but that was going to be an area of strength. Defense was going to be good. They were going to have still star talent with guys like Pastrnak, what have you. But the biggest question mark, I think, up front was just whether or not Coyle and Zacha could, hold their own night in and night out. And so far, at least, you're seeing it, right? Like, again, it's a long season. We'll see how it is, but it isn't like a 5, 6, 7 game stretch where they're putting up good numbers. I mean, Zacha's on pace for 66 points right now. Coyle's on pace for 72. And again, that's not to say that
which is crazy.
Yeah, it's not to say they need to hit that point, but like if they're both playing really strong two-way hockey, they're driving play with the cast around them, and they finish around 50 points, you'll take it. Anything over that is gravy, in my opinion. But those are two critical areas. Yeah, there you go. Those are two critical areas of the lineup where the Bruins really haven't had to worry about that. Now, again, does that mean to say that the Bruins now, moving forward, don't need to be in on Elias Lindholm or Thomas Hertl or what have you? No, like if you can further bolster it, you'll take it. But that's not been an area where I think like Don Sweeney and his staff are like, we got to fix this or we want to make a deep run. Like I saw there was some comment because I did that story on Zacha of how he's, I think, really realized, the Bruins – hopes that he'd be a top 6 centerman. Someone's like, well, yeah, what did he do in the playoffs? I'm like, well, he had 6 points in 7 games. It was a +2. Like he was great. I mean, same with Coyle.
He was far from their problem.
Yeah, like those two guys, like again, can you win with those two guys as your top 6 centermen? They looked pretty good in the playoffs last year, right? Like as unconventional maybe as it was going into this year, this isn't like a flash in the pan. Like, if we get into January and February in the dog days of the season and they're going into a cold spell, maybe that's when, Sweeney and his staff have to look over things. Maybe they need a boost there. But right now, both those guys are driving play and impacting the game pretty much whenever they're hopping over the boards.
I mean, I think you could make the argument that any centers after Bergeron and Krejci retired were going to look out of place on paper. Now, I will say, obviously, if you brought in a guy who was a top 6 center elsewhere, it would be different. But, I mean, you when you look at it, Charlie Coyle for years here played as the third line center. Now, granted, he would get moved into the top 6, but it was never for a long period of time, and it was guys he never really played with. So you could make the argument over the years. We always said, oh, he hasn't turned into a top 6 center, but he wasn't given the greatest opportunities to form into a top 6 center. And Pavel Zacha, we saw last year at times, but it wasn't it was for extended periods of time sometimes, and he was great at it. So we kind of assumed, all right, he'll be the 1 and Coyle will be the 2. Now it looks like both are pretty solid top 6 centers with a good cast around them. And again, it's come even at the expense of like Jake DeBrusk hasn't been producing at the levels that I think we all thought he would. And he was supposed to be kind of a top 6 stalwart. So, again, they have fit. And I think, you mentioned like a Hertl or a Lindholm. And I think, if the opportunity arises for that, you have to consider it. But right now, I mean, I don't think you need to make a massive addition at the deadline and give up a ton of assets for it, for a top 6 center. If something pops up where Tomas Hertl says, I will only go to the Boston Bruins, and, you only have to give up, like Lysell and something else, maybe. But that's not going to happen. And I don't think San Jose is going to let that happen because, oh boy. So yeah, I mean, again, I think, those guys have proven it so far. And again, we're not, like, this isn't the beginning of the season anymore. There's a large sample size, and the Bruins are 13-1-2 right now. So
yeah,
you're seeing it, and they played good teams. And again, I think this stretch upcoming is big with Florida and Tampa Bay. I'm sure many folks will watch the Panthers-Bruins game on Wednesday night out at local bars when they go home for Thanksgiving. So that can be the backdrop. Hopefully, it's a good backdrop. One last thing I want to hit on before we head out. Charlie McAvoy. So I want to give myself a little pat on the back here. because, we got to celebrate our wins. We're a pro celebrating our own takes when they're right.
Getting the bag and then gloating over our predictions.
Yes.
Two things
those are two things that we will always defend.
Two principles.
Yes. If we run for office, those are the two things we will run on. And Rutherford B. Hayes, pro Rutherford B. Hayes. Of course, we will always be a pro Rutherford B. Hayes. Yeah, exactly. I want to make sure he didn't do anything bad before I really put my stamp of approval on it. He probably did. He probably did do some bad things. Charlie McAvoy, though, has not been doing well. He did do the suspension thing, so I guess that is a bad thing. But other than that, he's been good.
Yes.
Other than that, he's been good.
Offensively, what's he doing?
3 goals, 9 assists, 12 points in 12 games. I said before the season, this is going to be the year he gets over 60 points. So far, on pace for it. But I just think his activation in joining the rush, creating offense, this is exactly what you need out of a McAvoy. And I remember Fluto wrote an article a year or two ago basically saying, like, McAvoy's probably never going to win a Norris because the defensemen around him in the league, Makar, Hughes, Fox, Yossi, all these guys are so good and they put up points. And Hughes is having a freaking crazy year out in Vancouver. But the point production, nonetheless, will help the Bruins, whether he wins a Norris or not, and you're really starting to see that now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that we've talked about this, I think, even last week, that the Bruins, to really realize their potential offensively, especially at 5-on-5 play, I think the defense to get a lot more involved. I mean, even you saw Brendan Carlo, gets that shot that gets tipped by Frederic. Brendan Carlo, who's on pace for, I think, 26 points this year, which is not too bad for him. He's been involved in a couple of offensive plays so far, but Charlie McAvoy is your kind of conduit back there, your number one option, and to have him be really more assertive in the offensive zone, I think is really encouraging. I still don't think he's the guy that's going to be peppering the net, but I think you're seeing him when he's seeing plays, he's taking the puck down low, he's making things happen, and I think when your number one play driver on defense is doing that night in and night out, it really, really helps out your team as a whole. So it's good to see him, I think, take that next gear. You don't want to see him sacrifice his defensive play or anything like that, and he hasn't. But I think this is part of that expected growth and why, I think we even talked about it before the year. As good as this team was, they still have guys that are 25, 26, 27 that still have more room to grow. And McAvoy in that offensive game was one of those areas, and I think you're seeing it so far.
Yeah, he's growing. I think it's the other thing is, I think a lot of people thought, he's just going to be, 40-point guy who just kind of, good in his own zone, never gets the offensive recognition. But there's another element to his game, and we're seeing that. And again, he hasn't been here forever. I think a lot of people are like, he is what he is. And it's no, there's still a lot more to give. Same thing said for Swayman, Frederic, DeBrusque, a lot of these guys. So we'll see what ends up happening. But McAvoy, really encouraging to start. And by the way, Lindholm, ever since we talked about Lindholm, he's doing it. He's doing the damn thing.
4 points in 6 games, I believe is what it is now. Not too bad.
Not too bad. He must have listened. He was like, you know what? Those guys are right. I gotta step up my offensive game, and that was it. Firing shots away from the point like it was going out of style. Quick break in the action to tell you about our delicious friends over at HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. A crazy schedule can make it easy to fall back into your dinner time recipe rut, but keep mealtime exciting with over 40 recipes to choose from every week. There's always something delicious to discover with HelloFresh. Turn to HelloFresh Market for yummy add-ons and enjoy the season's limited time fall flavors lineup. It's that time of year, right? Things get you in the mood, like apple cider cake with caramel sauce. All the ingredients come fresh, from the crushed tomatoes to the Italian chicken sausage mix to the Parmesan cheese. It's delicious, and I feel like a chef when I'm doing it. What's better than that? And this is a busy time of year for me with hockey starting up. I don't always have a ton of time, so this recipe makes it quick to enjoy something amazing. So join in on the fun. Go to HelloFresh.com/50Bruins and use code 50Bruins for 50% off plus free shipping. Again, go to HelloFresh.com/50Bruins and use code 50Bruins for 50% off plus free shipping. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Now, back to the show. Before we go, Connor, I got to ask the typical Thanksgiving question. What's your favorite side? We've talked about this before, and I honestly forget because it's I can't believe I forget. But what is the favorite Thanksgiving side?
There's many different options that are great. Is it controversial to say mac and cheese? Because people who people think that's not a Thanksgiving side. I think it is, and that's my favorite.
I think it is.
If beyond that, I feel like everyone friggin' loves mac and cheese. So like, I don't think that's. I'll say good stuffing. It has to be like the one you make yourself, not like the box stuffing. Like one that's
really?
Yeah, exactly. Like a one that has a lot of different variation to it. You throw some little celery in there, some seasoning. Pretty good. I love stuffing. You just do so much with it. That's why I love
stuffing. To me, stuffing is the most elite Thanksgiving side. I'm not like. See, I think mac and cheese is so big. Like I think mac and cheese. It's like it's such an iconic food. I know I'm the pro Mac Attack guy, but it's such an iconic food that I think it's hard to label it just a Thanksgiving side, but it can be. Like, I'm not like, oh, I can't have mac and cheese with Thanksgiving. I can have mac and cheese for freaking breakfast. I don't care.
Yeah.
So Thanksgiving would be great. I never grew up with it for Thanksgiving. I wish I did. It would have been really freaking cool.
Yes.
But stuffing to me is number one. I think whether it's stovetop out of the box or you make it yourself, I love it. I love stuffing. Put a little gravy on it. Mix it with some mashed potatoes. I think it's awesome. So I'm probably stuffing.
Also, cranberry sauce. I don't like people who put like a whole thing on their plate, but like as a compliment, put that over a whole bunch of different stuff. Mix it in. Great.
It is. I agree with you. It's sweet. It adds the sugar, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a culinary guy, so I can't, be like, oh, the flavor of it is just so perfect. I'm not like Gordon Ramsay or anything, but close enough.
That was beautiful.
Perfect.
JFK last week, Gordon Ramsay this one. It's great.
Who's going to be next week?
We're like Frank Caliendo. We're like a much probably better version of Frank Caliendo.
What was his full-time job at ESPN? Just like, just doing impressions?
Doing John Madden impressions? Yeah, they were hilarious.
Really funny.
It's like Jeff Dunham. It's really just getting the whole crowd laughing.
Yeah, you got the whole squad laughing.
Yeah.
What was it? Oh, my last Thanksgiving take. It's not. I think everyone agrees with this at this point. Turkey is carried by all the sides around it. I'm not a big turkey guy.
Sucks.
Yeah.
The bird sucks too. It yells at you. It tries to attack you when you're golfing. It tries to attack you on the green line when you're over in Brookline, just mind your own business. It's a shitty bird, Evan. I don't like it.
It is. It is. So yeah, it is. It's got the
hanging off its nose. Like
yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah,
it's a shitty bird. No one.
Just like
you wonder why the pilgrims took it out. They probably saw it look like a little demon making that awful noise. Probably why they killed it. So
the gobble gobble gobble. It's funny when we
exactly.
where I grew up in Framingham.
Yeah, sorry. I don't
pro what? What are we pro? No, what are we pro?
No, we're pro getting the bag, validating our own predictions, and we're pro hating turkey podcast.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. That's the holy trinity.
Yes.
The best part is like when I grew up in Framingham, we lived in like a wooded area, so turkeys would constantly come around and they would gobble, and I actually got the gobble down. I'm not doing it here, but I used to gobble back at them and just try to get the birds going. And sometimes I actually would, like, they wouldn't even be doing anything and I would just gobble at them like out my bedroom window, and they would just start gobbling at each other. It was great. I just I'd stir the pot with the turkeys, and then I'd literally stir them in the pot
Piper,
for Thanksgiving.
just walking through Framingham, just assembling a coalition of turkeys.
That's exactly
sending
what
them
I
on
did.
A golf course and ruining everyone's day.
Yes, I said go to that Framingham Country Club golf course and harass all the golfers. But yeah, so turkey I'm not a fan of. The best thing of Thanksgiving is the sides. You put them together. Like whenever I have a plate of food, I want everything together. Like if I have steak, potatoes, broccoli, like I want it all to get like a bowl. I want everything in every bite.
You want to make your own little KFC famous bowl. I appreciate that.
That's exactly it. I mean that literally the KFC famous bowl is like Thanksgiving all year. So to a point. I'd rather chicken for Thanksgiving would be great if that like became the norm. I think we could get along with that.
Yeah,
but
friggin' turkey.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I remember hearing an argument once. They said you see chicken restaurants, you see steakhouses, roast beef joints. I mean, Haggs reviews like all of them around the state now. That's his thing, which is awesome. But you don't see turkey restaurants. You never see like a restaurant that's like we're the turkey people. Because it's not good. Because it's very dry. So, and again, some people are like, you've just never had a good turkey. It's like, I've had a lot of turkey from a lot of places, and I've never been like thoroughly impressed.
Yeah,
so.
And I've never met a good turkey in a living good turkey either. They suck.
Exactly.
They suck.
Exactly. I agree. It is, like you can't no one has a pet turkey. People do have chickens, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Turkeys, no one has a pet turkey. If you do happen to have a pet turkey,
send us a shout out.
You got to show us a picture of the turkey. I mean, my God. But anyways, that is today's Bruins beat. Connor, what can people look forward to from you over at Boston.com and the Boston Globe?
Yeah, we'll have you covered throughout the season with game recaps, features, columns, breakdowns, all that good stuff. I'll be over at MSG on Saturday for Rangers Bruins. So I'll be in New York City, going to Bubblegum Shrimp. See all the sites over in Times Square, the M&M Factory.
The M&M Factory?
If someone sends us a photo of their pet turkey, I will go to the M&M Factory and get it printed on some red M&Ms for you. So I regret saying that because now
that's a promise. That's a promise.
Someone's going to send like a photo of a turkey now. I'd have to do it. But listen, when you're in New York, baby, you got to do those things. So I'll be over there for that. But yeah, if you want to read all my stuff, please do over at Boston.com. And you can follow my tweets, GIFs, musings, all that great stuff over at Conor Ryan _93 on Twitter, X, whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah, go do all that. The funny thing is, like, someone's gonna send a picture of like a turkey in there, like in the oven, and be like, "Oh, that was Jimmy. He was a great turkey for us." And it's like, that's morbid. Maybe don't do that. Rip Jimmy. Anyways,
turkeys suck anyway. I'm not paying my respects to any turkeys.
No turkey respect here. Anyways, that's Conor Ryan. I'm Evan Marinofsky. You Bruins Beat listeners, have a happy Thanksgiving for those in the United States, and for all, have a great rest of your week.